surprise attack on Israel by Hamas, the group that controls Gaza, has quickly escalated into the most intense conflict.
Pesawat tempur Israel melancarkan serangan udara baru di semenanjung Gaza.
Tindakan bacol Israel menyekat makanan, elektrik dan air kepada 2.3 juta penduduk Palestin.
And we can bring you breaking news as the Rafah crossing between Egypt and the Gaza Strip has just opened.
Datuk Seri Anwar berkata, Malaysia kini menumpukan.
Mr. Jismi Johari, Chairman of Ops-Ihsan Secretariat, the Coalition of Malaysian Humanitarian NGOs. Professor Dr. Mazli bin Malik, Chairman, International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia. Tan Sri Dr. Syed Hamid Alba, former Foreign Minister. His Excellency Mr. Walid Abu Ali, Ambassador of the State of Palestine. Dr. Ahmad Badri bin Abdullah, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer, International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia. Puan Nurul Izzah Anwar, our moderator for tonight, together with our distinguished panelists, representatives from Prime Minister's Office, ministries and government agencies, Malaysian political parties, legal practitioners, together with the management, lecturers and students from IPTA and IPTS, members of the media, individuals, volunteers and members of the NGO. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening. Welcome to the forum on Halting Genocide through Legal Practice, Advocating for Palestine at the International Criminal Court, ICC, and International Court of Justice, ICJ. Tonight, we gather in this conference hall of the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies to engage in a crucial discourse. Thank you for joining us in this dialogue aimed at promoting justice and advocating for the rights and freedom of the Palestinian people. Let us all stand united in our pursuit of a world free from the scourge of genocide. Without further ado, we would like to welcome Professor Dr. Mazli bin Malik, Chairman, International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia, for his welcoming remarks. Professor, stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good evening to everybody. Mr. Jismi bin Johari, Chairman of Ops-Ihsan Secretariat, Tan Sri Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hamid Alba, former Foreign Minister and my guru, His Excellency Ma'ali Safir, Mr. Walid Abu Ali, Ambassador of the State of Palestine, Members of Parliament, Mrs. Nurul Izzah Anwar, our star tonight, panelists, Professor Dato Dr. Rahmat bin Muhammad, Professor Dr. Muhammad Afendi Saleh, Professor Dr. Gudial Singh Nijar, Madam Nur Halida binti Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalil, representatives from the Prime Minister Office, ministries and government agencies, Malaysian political parties, legal practitioners, the management lecturers and students from IPTA and IPTS, especially IIC. Am I right? Okay. Wow. Half of the population, man. Members of the media, individuals, volunteers and members of NGO, ladies and gentlemen, advocates of justice and peace lovers. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As a chairman of IAIS Malaysia, it is with great pleasure and immense pride that I extend a warm welcome to each of you to this distinguished forum titled Halting Genocide Through Legal Pursuits, Advocating for Palestine at the ICC and ICJ. Hosted in collaboration with the Ops-Ihsan Secretariat, Mr. Jismi and his team, and the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia, this forum marks a significant milestone in our collective pursuit of justice and advocacy for Palestine. It's not only for Palestine, but it's also for our future generation to bring an end to the final chain of colonialism. Let me begin by reminding us of the words of the late Desmond Tutu, the South African cleric and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, who was a vocal supporter of the Palestine cause and a critic of Israel's apartheid policies. He once said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality." This quote challenges us to examine our own position and responsibility in the face of oppression and violence. It urges us to take a stand and to act in solidarity with the victims of injustice, rather than to remain silent or indifferent. It is also warns us of the consequences of inaction, which can amount to complicity in the crimes of the oppressor. In the context of the Palestinian struggle, this quote is especially relevant and significant. For decades, the Palestinian people have endured systematic violations of their human rights and dignity by Israel, or by the Zionist regime, which has imposed a brutal occupation, a suffocating blockade, and a relentless campaign of aggression, colonization, and dispossession of their land. The Zionist state has also defied numerous resolutions and rulings by the United Nations and the International Court of Justice that have affirmed the illegality of its action and the legitimacy of the Palestinian right to self-determination. And all of this, they can just got away, like Mahali Safir said, because of the US veto. Throughout history, legal pursuits have stood as a beacon of hope, offering avenues to seek redress, uphold human rights, and challenge injustices. Our discussions today aim to forge viable strategies within the legal frameworks of the IIC, International Criminal Court, and the International Court of Justice, ICJ. By leveraging these platforms, we endeavor to amplify the voices of the oppressed, safeguard their rights, and seek accountability for the atrocities perpetrated against the Palestinian people. Therefore, I'm honored to stand before this esteemed gathering, comprised of leaders, legal experts, government institutions, humanitarian agencies, academia, and representatives from civil societies. Your presence here today underscores the gravity of the cause we are championing and the urgency with which we must address the critical issue of halting genocide through legal avenues. For this important forum, I'm particularly delighted to have the esteemed presence of Mrs. Nurul Izzah Anwar as the moderator for this forum. Her commitment to justice and unwavering dedication to humanitarian cause and causes make her an exemplary advocate. And we are privileged to have her tonight with us for her guidance of our discussions today. A round of applause to Mrs. Nurul Izzah. On another note, Malaysia, with its long-standing commitment to justice and human rights, stands poised to take a leading role in uniting our voices in a resounding call for action. This is especially under the leadership of our beloved Prime Minister, Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, whose resolute stance on supporting the Palestinian cause is globally recognized. Together, we will cultivate a collaborative approach, harnessing the expertise, insights, and collective strength of diverse stakeholders present here today. As we embark on this crucial dialogue, let us remember that our collective efforts hold the power to effectuate meaningful change. Let us pledge to stand firm in our commitment to justice, to advocate for the voiceless, and to pave way for a future where the rights and dignity of every individual are protected, irrespective of their origin, beliefs, ethnicity, skin color, or circumstances. Once again, I extend my heartfelt welcome to all participants. May our deliberations today be fruitful, our strategies effective, and our resolve unwavering in our pursuit to halt genocide through legal avenues for the people of Palestine. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mazli, for your enlightening and insightful speech. Ladies and gentlemen, respected guests, it is an honor to welcome to the podium Mr. Jismi Johari, Chairman of Ops-Ihsan Secretariat. Sorry, a bit of a change in the program. So before we begin, let's first enjoy a performance. It's our pleasure to present to you multi-talented artist Harissa Adin Halim, a singer, actress, songwriter, and dancer who is set to captive us with her performance tonight. In a heartfelt tribute to Palestine, Harissa will dedicate both of her original songs, Desert Bloom and Soul of My Soul, as a symbol of solidarity and support. Let the melodies resonate with a cause close to our hearts as we stand together in advocating for justice and peace in Palestine. Harissa, the stage is yours.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Harissa Adlin. And how are you guys feeling? Good? Good? Okay. So today I would like to share 2 songs with everybody. These 2 songs, I've written them specifically for Palestine and the issue that is happening right now. So the first song that I'm going to be singing is called Desert Bloom. It is a song that I've written and composed by myself, and we are in the process of its official release to all digital streaming platforms, and inshallah it will be used as the official song for Ops-Ihsan as well. And I hope that all of you can sing along with me, because there is a lyric that goes, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." All of you know that phrase, right? So whenever you hear it, just sing along with me, okay? So a little introduction about this song. It is about how the people of Palestine, they never seem to, their spirit, they keep having their spirit alive in spite everything that they are going through. And this is about that spirit that they have. So I hope you guys enjoy. A beautiful land with beautiful people living together as one. Through the war and the rain, they hold on to each other, never letting go. Miles and miles they walk to a place unknown. Inspired by the faith they never lose. Strength and courage, watch their spirit bloom. Holding on to Sing with me. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Okay, that's how it goes. So when you hear it, you sing with me, okay? They live today as if it's their last, not knowing their fate tomorrow. Smiles and laughter, hiding their sorrows, hiding all the pain. Miles and miles they walk to a place unknown, inspired by the faith they never lose. Strength and courage, watch their spirit bloom. Holding on to prayers day and night. Sing with me. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is so beautiful. One more time. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you. So that is Desert Bloom. This next song, my last song, is called Me and You. It is more emotional. This song is a way of me trying to let the people of Palestine know that I may not be there with them physically, but I am there with them spiritually by prayers, and I think about them every second of the day. And I hope that you guys like it. Me and you, just me and you, playing with our toes, ignore the storm that's coming through. Are you scared? Oh, are you scared? Just take my hand and I'll show you the way through. Explosions, can you hear explosions? Push them away if they're shouting, take it in. If they're whispering, don't be scared. Just look at me, we'll make it through. We'll make it through. Just me and you. All the birds on the trees are listening. They hear the planes and they fly away. All the birds on the trees are listening. They hear the planes and they fly away. Explosions, can you hear explosions? Push them away if they're shouting, take it in. If they're whispering, don't be scared. Just look at me, we'll make it through. We'll make it through. Just me and you. Just me and you. That is all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harissa, for such a beautiful, beautiful performance. And thank you for using your talents, sharing them with us in expressing her solidarity with Palestine. Inshallah, one day we will see Palestine be free. Ladies and gentlemen, for our forum tonight, Ladies and gentlemen, for our forum tonight, it is with great pleasure and respect that we welcome Puan Nurul Izzah Anwar, a passionate activist, former Member of Parliament, to take the stage as the moderator for this crucial forum. With her dedication to human rights and advocacy, we look forward to her skillful guidance in facilitating our insightful discussion. Puan Nurul Izzah, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think maybe we can first begin by inviting all our panelists on stage to join me here today. Prof. Datuk Gurdial, Puan Nur Halida, Prof. Datuk Dr. Ahmad, and Prof. Afandi. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for everyone who have made it. Okay. As you know, politicians don't really moderate very well, but I'll do my very best today. Yeah? Thank you. Okay? Yeah? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. If I must die by Refat Al-Arir, if I must die, you must live. To tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it wide with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above. And thinks for a moment an angel is there bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Kita hidup di dunia yang memperlihatkan sebuah rejim genocide, lagi apartheid, begitu zalim hinggakan penyair juga dibunuh. My question is, what kind of world do we now live in where an apartheid genocidal state does not suffer a poet to live? Must poets who dare to speak the truth suffer death or bear arms? Or must their right to speak to brutal power be defended by a higher power, which is the law? Indeed, the law should exist to protect certain fundamental rights to every human being. The Excellency, Brother Walid, our ambassador to Palestine,
Tan Sri Syed Hamid Alba, who's with us, Dr. Mazli, Encik Jismi, our esteemed experts, the panelists who's here today, all of you who made time to make it tonight for us to somehow collectively collect our sorrows, our sentiments, and formulate a way forward. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Malaysia Madani. We're here in the forum entitled Halting Genocide Through Legal Pursuits, Advocating for Palestine at the ICC and ICJ. This is the topic, dan dari 7th October alone, you're talking about 68 days, 16,200 Palestinians, including more than 8,000 children, almost 250 people a day in Gaza have been brutally murdered in the most, and I think I reiterate the words of doctors here, the most excruciating and painful of deaths. These then led to widespread calls for inquiries into Israel's war crimes and genocide in Gaza by various experts and organizations. Now, to explain further, we are deeply fortunate to have experts because the mechanisms are very complex. I believe, Ambassador Walid, your daughter has done extensive study on the ICC, but for average persons, we do require a lot of technical expertise, patience, perseverance, and strategic deployment of global diplomacy. It should have ended 75 years ago, but seeing the scale of destruction should embolden us to continue the struggle for the next century, at least onwards. Now, the first speaker, Madam Nur Halida Tan Sri Khalil, specializes in international human rights and humanitarian law, public international law and constitutional law for more than 30 years of experience lecturing the University Malaya. It's in the Faculty of Law, and by 2007, she was a visiting fellow at both the Lotte Park Centre for International Law, University of Cambridge, and the British Institute of International and Comparative Law Institute, London. She was appointed as a consultant to the government of Malaysia to draft the Child Act, and Madam Nur Halida will explain partly, of course it's a rich presentation tonight, how the legitimacy of a Palestinian state has been ground to rubble under the threats of the occupying tanks. Please join me, everybody. A round of applause. Madam Nur Halida, you have 15 minutes before I invite the rest of the speakers.
The PowerPoint slide, yeah. Yang berbahagia, Professor Datuk Masni Malik, distinguished guests, Madam Moderator, Puan Nur Iza Anwar, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera and good evening. First of all, allow me to thank the organizers of this forum, inviting me to speak at this forum. It is indeed an honor for me to share my insight with your audience tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, in light of the relentless bombardment of the besieged Gaza Strip by Israel since October 7, 2023, when Hamas successfully launched a surprise attack on southern Israel, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, renewed his demand for a ceasefire in Gaza before the United Nations Security Council on 24th October 2023. He said that international law was being violated in the war between Israel and the Palestinian armed group Hamas. Guterres said, and I quote, "It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. However, in addition to the code, please be reminded the Palestinians were not only subjected to brutal foreign occupation, but they continue to endure 75 years of denial of their right to self-determination. The right of peoples to self-determination has been defined as the peoples shall govern itself on its territory. An inherent problem with the parameters of the right of self-determination is illustrated in the Palestinian issue in the Middle East, the non-resolution of which is at the very root of very dangerous developments in international law. This problem, a crucial component of the Arab-Israeli conflict, mirrors two competing claimants of the right of self-determination, each seeing the same piece of territory as their homeland. The classic case of oppressed minorities preferring a state of their own, then in the protection of international human rights, is of course the state of Israel. The state of Israel was carved out of Palestine in the midst of mass displacement and expulsion of the primarily, but not exclusively, Arab population of mandatory Palestine. Only in Palestine have foreign immigrants been allowed to break up the territorial integrity of the country in which they came to live. The overwhelming desire of the surviving Jewish minorities of European states to create a Jewish state capable of defending the Jews everywhere against oppression reveals that they trusted more to the establishment of a state of their own than to the protection of human rights within other people's national states. Since the inception of the problem in May 1948, when Israel was established on 78% of what used to be Palestine, the issue of the right of the Palestinians of self-determination, and the issue of refugee rights of the Palestinians, among other imperative components of the Palestinian human rights related question. The issue of ethnic majorities ruling party who are not citizens and who do not come under full constitutional protection of the national laws of Israel, and the issue of the construction of the wall in the occupied Palestinian territory. They continue to bedevil the international community, and particularly the members of the United Nations Security Council, despite over 7 decades of the existence of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Hence, the root cause of the plight of the Palestinians is the illegitimate right that granted self-determination to the Jewish minorities of Europe on the premise that in exercising their right of self-determination, the Jews violated not only the territorial integrity of Palestine, but the political independence of the Muslim and Christian Arab majority of Palestine as well. It is pertinent to examine the salient facts that lie at the root of the plight of the Palestinians. In 1517, the Ottoman Turks ruled Palestine, where the majority of the population then were Arab Muslims. When World War I broke out in 1914, Britain promised the Arabs, including the Palestinians, independence from Ottoman rule in return for their support in their battle against Turkey, an ally of Germany. But the promise of independence did not come. In 1915, to gain Jewish support for its war, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, which affirmed the British support for the creation of a Jewish national home in Palestine without violating the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities. After the war, the League of Nations divided the defeated Ottoman Empire into mandated territories, where Palestine then became a mandated British territory. The Arab majority argued that the mandate unconstitutionally violated the covenant of the League of Nations by frustrating the national independence for those who were indigenous inhabitants of Palestine, which, as of 1919, Article 22 of the same covenant had provisionally recognized. The Palestinians argued that sovereignty over Palestine, resting no longer in the former Turkish rulers, nor in the League of Nations, nor the mandatory power, must have rightfully belonged as of 1919 to the Arab inhabitants. However, the British view did not place such emphasis on either the legal role of Article 22 nor the League of Nations. Lord Balfour concluded that, and I quote, "The mandates are neither made by the League nor can they, in substance, be altered by the League." When the United Nations replaced the League of Nations after World War II, the mandate system was replaced by the trusteeship system. All of the former mandated territories were placed under the system by their mandatories, with the exception of certain entities, including those territories, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, which had become or was soon to become independent. After World War II, Jewish survivors of the Nazi Holocaust represented the second wave of exodus back to the region. This brings me to the General Assembly Resolution 181 of 29 November of 1947. In 1947, Great Britain, in its decolonization process, decided to withdraw from Palestine. The General Assembly of the United Nations, via the General Assembly Resolution 181, decided to partition Palestine into a Jewish and Arab state, with Jerusalem and its environs cordoned off as a separate entity under the United Nations trusteeship. The legal competence of the General Assembly to establish two independent states in Palestine was questioned on the grounds that the partition plan did not adequately take into account the regard to the principle of self-determination of the Palestinians. On the General Assembly's resolution to partition Palestine, Henry Catan, a Palestinian jurist, noted, inter alia, the Jewish community then existing in Palestine was therefore composed mainly of foreigners, both by origin and nationality. Nowhere except in Palestine have foreign immigrants been allowed to break up the territorial integrity of the country in which they came to live. The partition plan apparently failed. The Arab states were opposed to the establishment of a Jewish state in a territory where the Arabs were the majority. The partition plan had led to intense disagreement between member states of the UN over the fate of Palestine. Fighting between the two communities led to the second special session of the General Assembly in April and May of 1948. The General Assembly failed to pass a resolution on the state of its rapidly disintegrating partition plan. Finally, the General Assembly abandoned Palestine to a military solution, with the first Arab-Israeli war breaking out on 14 May 1948 as the mandate ended. On 20th May 1948, based on the General Assembly Resolution 186, Count Bernadotte was appointed as the United Nations mediator on Palestine. It appeared that the very appointment of a mediator was an admission by the United Nations that it had failed to implement the partition. The General Assembly Resolution 181 of 1947. Therefore, key problems faced by Count Bernadotte when deciding on proposals for a solution of the Palestinian question included the status of the State of Israel, proclaimed on on 14 May 1948, and the status of the Arab state in Palestine, to be created in accordance with the UN General Assembly Resolution 181 of 29 November 1947. In search of a peaceful adjustment of the future situation of Palestine, on 16 September 1948, Count Bernadotte completed his progress report to the third session of the UN General Assembly, which was scheduled to begin in Paris on 21 September 1948. The said report entailed, inter alia, a Jewish state territory consisting of only some 20% of the whole of mandatory Palestine territory, significantly reduced when compared with the initial resolution of 29 November 1947. As such, Count Bernadotte was perceived by the Jewish organization, the Fighters of the Freedom of Israel, or Lehi, as the primary obstacle to an Israeli annexation of Jerusalem and to Jewish control of all Palestine. Consequently, when visiting Jerusalem on 17 September 1948, Count Bernadotte was assassinated by Lehi in the area that had been proclaimed as Israel-occupied territory. The decision to murder Count Bernadotte was taken by 3 men in the Lehi Central Committee, including Yitzhak Shamir, who eventually became the 7th Prime Minister of Israel. Wars broke out in 1956 and 1967. Ladies and gentlemen, in sum, the Arab communities, which constituted most of the inhabitants in Palestine, should have gained independence over the territory in 1947 once the British had left the region. Unfortunately, however, the United Nations General Assembly decided otherwise. Therefore, the United Nations General Assembly should be held accountable for its monumental mistake in the enforcement of a policy which, not being mandatory under any specific provision of the UN Charter, nor in compliance with its fundamental principles and purposes, is clearly incompatible with valid nationalist aspirations of the Palestinians under international law. The claim of Jewish minorities of European states to self-determination, albeit the creation of Israel, puts a test to the parameters of the right to self-determination under international law. Once international law recognizes self-determination as a right, its parameters ought to be set and regulated in order to avoid a situation which might endanger world peace, order, and stability. The issue of parameters of right of self-determination necessitates a review of the main theoretical definitions of self-determination and its legal status under international law, followed by the development of the concept throughout the 20th century. The analysis of this important topic offers a starting point for discussing basic legal arguments related to Israel's right to exist and the validity of Israel as a legitimate sovereign state. The question, was there a legal right of Jewish minorities of Europe under international law in 1948 to self-determination? The answer to this legal question depends on the legality of the Balfour Declaration of 1915, which provided a foundation for the British mandate in Palestine, given that the Balfour Declaration was the mechanism which eventually led to the partition resolution of the UN General Assembly in 1947. If the linkage was illegal, the consequences would be challengeable under international law. So the question is, was the Balfour Declaration, in granting a national home in Palestine to Jewish minorities of Europe, while ignoring the will of the Muslim and Christian Arab majority and preserving only their civil and religious rights, repugnant to international law. Okay, yes. Okay, I just seek your indulgence for 2 minutes. Okay, all right. Now, the issue regarding the legal validity of the Balfour Declaration and its impact on the British mandate in Palestine necessitates a perusal of the parameters of self-determination and its legal status under international law, as well as the development of self-determination from principle eventually to right under international law. So in conclusion, in relation to self-determination, in exploring the concept of self-determination and minority rights in international law and their development over time, beginning with the period during and following First World War, it is questionable whether the UN Charter ever contemplated the question of minorities in its self-determination provision. Madam Moderator, can I conclude? All right, okay. In conclusion, I have a number of points to make in my conclusion. Firstly, the United Nations General Assembly is held accountable for its unrectified mistakes, committing blatant violations of rules of international law in 1948, therefore preventing Palestinians to fully exercise their legitimate rights of self-determination in their own homeland. Secondly, unless and until the remedial actions are immediately undertaken, all the attendant consequences as the result of the illegal creation of Israel will continue to abhorrently cause untold human misery. Third, the UN General Assembly should take unprecedented steps to immediately enforce remedial measures for its actions in 1947, namely undoing the disproportionate and inequitable partitioning of a territory earmarked for independence, which should have resulted into an Arab as well as a Jewish state, with Jerusalem and its variants cordoned off as a separate entity under United Nations trusteeship. Lastly, it is imperative for international law to permanently bring to a close the continuing and untenable situation afflicting Palestinians in Palestine, which reflects despicably the aberrant disgrace to mankind, the illegitimate creation of Israel under the auspices of the United Nations. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Puan Rohalida. I'm sorry about the restriction of time because I think it provides a very good background to self-determination and the question of legitimacy. So will the audience be able to download the presentation if they were interested in it? So we will pass on to Secretariat if time permits later. Our second panelist is Professor Dr. Rahmat bin Muhammad. He is a Malaysian legal scholar and professor of law at the University Teknologi Mara, now chairman of ASEAN International Arbitration Center, IAIS, and the chief of the legal team at My Aqsa Foundation. Prof. Dr. Rahmat will explain the avenues of legal recourse that even civil society can take, showcasing that the pathway to justice is open to us all. Again, please welcome our second panelist, Prof. Dr. Rahmat. You have 15 minutes and we can negotiate later. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a very good evening to all guests, participants, my eminent speakers, the presence of Excellency Walid, the Ambassador of Palestine to Malaysia, and the doyen of once upon a time, now of course he's still, although retired, Tan Sri Syed Hamid Alba, the foreign ministers. Ladies and gentlemen, I must first thank the organizer for inviting me to make this short presentation and the opportunity to speak on the subject matter on ICC and other means of judicial or other means of legal remedies available to Palestine, ICC, ICJ, UNSC, so on and so forth. And I must also congratulate the organizer, the leadership of Dr. Mazli, for having this very important conversation. And I thought, I was waiting for this conversation long time ago. After 7 October, I thought we should have immediately, but Alhamdulillah, we have it now today. Now, I will, because of 15 minutes, I don't think I have a lot of time. Yes, I know. Yes. Now, let's look at the overall picture of legal redress that is available to any state. We talk about Palestine tonight, the legal redress or remedies under international law. Now, there are several. The first is universal jurisdiction of national court. In fact, as I said earlier, with Madam Noriza, that the effect of genocide is that you are given the right for every state to bring in the perpetrator of crime, basically the crime of humanity, war crimes, genocide, and aggression to your court, to your national court. But of course, there are conditions that you have to fulfill. Number one is to have a legislation, a local legislation, to say that we recognize crime against humanity, we recognize war crime, we recognize genocide and aggression. And this has been practiced in Europe. Belgium courts, the Netherlands court has practiced this, bringing in the perpetrator of crime to their courts. But unfortunately, this has not been a practice. While the law allows the fact that if it is a serious crime of international nature, that you can bring the perpetrator of crime to your own court. Now, this is one thing that I thought we should explore. The two important courts, the International Criminal Court, the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court, or ICC, and International Court of Justice, these are very important courts. But ICJ do not compel the crimes or the offenses of individual. It only deals with state. For example, the Gambia had in fact called upon the ICJ to put Myanmar, guilty of genocide, and this has been done. And genocide, in fact, is very much carefully crafted by international lawyers, scholars, that only a few occasions that it has recognized what constitutes genocide under the Genocide Convention. Now, the real court that we want to see punishment of the perpetrator of crimes, as I mentioned, the four important crimes: war crimes, crime against humanity, genocide, and aggression, is the ICC. And we very much, looking forward for, in 2018, for example, when Palestine make, when they say that they want to be a party to ICC, it was very much, not something that is acceptable by the superpowers and also Israel. But eventually they become a state party with one ruling I will explain later. And with that, under ICC, it triggered the ICC jurisdiction to hear the case before the trial chambers. That we were involved in that submission of amicus curiae. Later I will explain to that. So ICC definitely is something that we look forward, and if you are a lecturer of international law, you ask your student, what are the mechanisms that is available for Palestine under international law? You mention all that I've put down here, you will probably get A+. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, this is not so easy, because we know that, for instance, the world is being held by the 5 P5 permanent members of the Security Council. The UNGA, I'm very happy that they finally come together and say that we want to have ceasefire. But you know that UN General Assembly resolution is not binding, unfortunately. But it can urge the UNSC to speed up or to make sure that they will finally not use their veto power. Now, this is very unfortunate that the creation of UN and UNSC is actually the creation of the victors of Second World War. So they decided who will be in the permanent five. That is why now there is this demand that there must be a reform in UNSC. But we can't say about reform now because we want to see justice and peace happening on the ground. So be that as it is, but I think what is important, at the end of the day, we keep on pushing UNGA, General Assembly, and also to urge UNSC, do not use your veto power in case of humanity. This has been suggested, this has been proposed by countries like Mexico. It was accepted in USSC, but unfortunately, the nature of politics that, you know, the P5 would not be able to use that, you know, for the good of humanity, unfortunately. And there is also something that I have to say here, that Malaysia currently is a member of the UN Human Rights Council until 2024. The government must keep on pushing to UN Human Rights Council, that because we are a member, so it is a platform for us to air our concern, to urge all the members of the Human Rights Council, the members at least, that there need to be something need to be done there, and also to provide more information to the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestine territory, including East Jerusalem and Israel. And the law is very clear under the Geneva Convention and Protocol Edition, where the right of civilians must be protected at all times. Certain buildings, hospitals, for example, must be protected under Geneva Convention. And we see that this is a clear violation of Geneva Convention and the protocol by the Israelis until today. And it has been for 75 years that they are living under that condition. Now, we mentioned about the Genocide Convention. And this is something that we need to be very clear of, because at the moment there are parties. We are for, of course, international lawyers and scholars are together in saying that whatever has been committed by Israelis actually fall within the category of the Genocide Convention. But there are also groups which says that it is not genocide, it is near genocide. It runs the risk of making Israel guilty of genocide, unfortunately. And I mentioned about universal jurisdiction of genocide earlier. And a complicit to genocide is also guilty. So please bear in mind that not only Israel is guilty of genocide, the other allied of Israel, America, for example, could be guilty of complicity in genocide. This is very clear under the convention. And as I mentioned about universal jurisdiction, I think we have to play more. We have to explore universal jurisdiction of our national court. Close to that is Kuala Lumpur war crime. Unfortunately, what happened in Kuala Lumpur war crime tribunal, it has not. We know that it has no legitimacy. But if we do more writings and research on that, perhaps, giving mandate to the tribunal, that could be possible. But because we do not enact our local legislation, especially on the area of crime against humanity, war crimes, and genocide, so that make it difficult to enforce that universal jurisdiction falling where our national court can have jurisdiction to hear those cases. Now, in any international criminal justice system, we have the idea that the perpetrator must be accountable. In other words, there should not be impunity. No one can be left alone, not being guilty or accountable to the crime that they have committed. And the victim must not continue to suffer. And there must be a system to investigate and bringing perpetrator to justice. This is where ICC came into the picture. Well before ICC, after World War II, you have the tribunal, the Nuremberg trial, so on, and the Japan trial, and then move on to the ICTY, Rwanda, and until finally we have the ICC. And of course, finally, the victim to receive reparation. Now, unfortunately, the idea that the perpetrator must be held accountable have not been forthcoming in relation to Palestine. For 75 years, they are not held accountable. Who are the person behind the genocidal or the crime against humanity or the war crime? Where are they? Why are they not put for the trial of the offences that they have committed? And so there is this perception that ICC failed in its objective to ensure that this perpetrator must be held accountable in that sense. That is why 123 countries are state parties to this Rome Statute. But why is it that there is selective, for example, prosecution, especially among the African leaders? This has been questioned. And for 8 years, I have been dealing with this subject when I was the Secretary General of the Asian African Legal Consultative Organization in New Delhi. So we know the problem, we know the politics of ICC, but we must not lose hope of the fact that we are seeing something that is going on. We know that, Mr. Karim Khan is doing something now, and under the Rome Statute of ICC, not only genocide is considered as international crime, there is war crime, crime against humanity, and crime of aggression. So this cover all the serious crime under international criminal law. Now let's look at the situation where Palestine have asked for self-referral, or because Palestine now is a state of ICC or state party of ICC, they on 2018 have asked the ICC or the OTP, the Office of the Prosecutor, to investigate, and had requested the prosecutor to investigate in accordance with the temporal jurisdiction of the court, the past, ongoing, and future crime, and specify that the state of Palestine comprises the Palestine territory occupied in 1967 by Israel, as defined by 1947 Amnesty Line, includes the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip. And so, as of 2012-2019, the prosecutor then, Prosecutor Bensouda, at that time, very active, very committed to the work, announced the following: thorough, independent, and objective assessment of the reliable information available to the office, and concluded, she concluded, with the determination that all the statutory criteria under the Rome Statute for the investigation had been met. The prosecutor also clarified that the office is satisfied that war crimes have been or are being committed in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza Strip. So this is as early as 2019. That, of course, the atrocities, the war crimes started much long time ago, but because Palestine asked for self-referral, this is what they got. And the prosecutor Bensouda at the time agreed that there was such war crimes committed by the Israelis. And but Bensouda went further and asked asked the pretrial chamber whether the issue was whether Palestine is a state, and whether they have jurisdiction, whether the pretrial chambers have the jurisdiction to hear the case, to allow or to decide on whether investigation can commence or not. So Bensouda then went to court and got the green light, and at that time the trial chambers decided by majority that the court's territorial jurisdiction in the situation in Palestine extend to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967. And you see, so we are very happy because we now have that age that we can, the ICC can start doing their investigation. And we provided all the necessary evidence, so on and so forth. And Bensouda actually confirmed the initiation of the investigation of the Office of the Prosecutor. And when Prosecutor Karim Khan took office, of course, he made a lovely statement that he was going to pursue all the justice and so on and so forth, but unfortunately, it is not forthcoming. And the fact that he's from UK, that has all the reason why things are not moving. And to date, he mentioned that there are 5 countries that made a referral to ICC, and that as early as March 2021, the Office of the Prosecutor announced that the investigation will cover crimes within the jurisdiction of the court that alleged been committed in the situation since 2014. But you see, investigation is slow, it's not moving. Well, we hope Prosecutor Karim Khan will do something. This is our hope. And our work at IAIS, the legal team had submitted war crime evidence. So this is the role of, I want to emphasize here, the role of, I got 2 minutes, the NGO. We have a role to play, actually. What we did, the legal team did, was to submit war crime evidence, testimony against Israelis perpetrator of war crime against humanity and genocide. So the meetings, they met victims and officials from the Palestinian government to ensure genuineness and authenticity of the documents, the video footage and witnesses, with the help of Ambassador Walid, of course, and IAIS started in 2018. And then we have made submission encompassing the deplorable attack and bombardment inflicted upon innocent Palestinian and essential medical, all the 4 hospitals, and the dossier that we submitted recently was a few weeks ago to ICC was 52 comprehensive pages of evidence, yeah? and which outline the procedural history, the relevant legal framework, a detailed chronicle of the atrocities committed by the accused party that has caused thousands of deaths, injuries, and all this. We have done this with the help of Ambassador Walid because we, in fact, the team went earlier. I did not go to Palestine at one time, so I didn't go. So they went there, they got all the witnesses. So this is very important, the relationship. And then we have evidence collated, not only comprises corroborated video and pictures and other things. And the government of Palestine continuously assisted IAIS in collecting evidence, and also we submit the complainant petition sufficient and we have more than reasonable ground for the issuance of warrant of arrest. So there are 2 things that we want ICC to do. Number 1, get all our evidence, get all the way, because they are all done systematically. Secondly, once you start the investigation, then you can start giving a warrant or issue a warrant of arrest to Benjamin Netanyahu and all the Israeli military officers. So this is the first time we did, when we submit legal arguments under amicus curiae, a friend of court. We have done this, and Alhamdulillah, the court decided in favor of us. And finally, Madam, what are the challenges? If you are an NGO, what are the challenges that you will have to face? Number 1, in relation to the traveling of the site of the incident, organizing teams, officials, and witnesses and victims. So this is quite elaborate in that sense, And of course, you need money, because the traveling, Dr. Mazli, dia tahulah, dia dekat Jordan, so he knows the situation in that side of the world. Meeting, it's not easy to meet the witnesses, the victim, and officials. Collection of data is another very important issue, and we have to work closely with the embassy here and also the information from Palestine, and the continuous cooperation from the official office to Palestine. And of course, we need competent and dedicated legal researchers. That's very important. And these are some of the photos that we have taken. We can only take this photo in ICC lobby. Then also the security told us, whispered to us, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We can't even take photos in the building. So the interview was done outside. This was an interview conducted by the Arabia TV. And one of the things that I would like to propose here is to have a alliance of NGO to work with all of us and to come up with credible, evidence and submission of the legal argument. So thank you, Madam. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Prof. Datuk Rahmat. I hope my microphone's still working. Okay, it works now. Terima kasih. I think it's important to also note there are comments that on the independence of the prosecutor. Yeah, lest I say more, let me introduce the next panelist who will put questions and ask, well, maybe challenge further the belief in the international humanitarian mechanisms. Our Prof. Dr. Muhammad Afandi Saleh, Senior Lecturer at UNIZA, Faculty of Law and International Relations. Prof. Dr. Muhammad Afandi actively engages in humanitarian missions. He's an activist with Humanitarian Care Malaysia, MyCare, and Justice for Palestine Action Front. He will ask difficult questions that argue in favor of an organized mass movement rather than seemingly futile international mechanisms of law and everything else, inshallah, in 15 minutes. Prof, the floor is yours. Again, please welcome me, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's not an easy topic, but it's very important because we must know our facts. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa bihi nasta'in. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Puan Moderator, Excellency Ambassador Walid, Tan Sri Hamid Alba, Professor Dr. Mazli Malik, my friend, all these legal experts in international law. Saya tidak berminat untuk bercakap dalam perspektif undang-undang antarabangsa, walaupun sebahagian bidang saya adalah undang-undang antarabangsa. Telah dibincangkan oleh dua panelis tadi. Dan saya cuba membawa satu perspektif yang agak berbeza, cuba menggabungkan perspektif undang-undang antarabangsa dan juga hubungan antarabangsa. Saya bercakap bahasa Melayu kerana Puan Nuriza dia kata why not gabungkan sekali bahasa Melayu dan juga bahasa Inggeris. Dan saya angkat tangan, saya kata saya bercakap bahasa Melayu. Baik, isu genocide memang semua orang dah bercakap dan bukti telah jelas bahawa memang genocide. Gregory Stanton, seorang pakar dalam ilmu genocide, meletakkan 10 elemen genocide dan semuanya telah terbukti Israel telah melakukan semua 10 perkara yang boleh dirumuskan sebagai genocide. Dan semua pakar undang-undang, pemerhati, aktivis melihat hari ini bagaimana pembunuhan secara bersistematik itu berlaku. Dan ia adalah genocide. Isu sekarang adalah stop genocide dan mengambil tindakan. Rwanda, genocide berlaku, hampir 1 juta manusia telah terbunuh secara sistematik di Rwanda. Hanya 17 tahun selepas itu tindakan diambil kepada penjenayah tersebut. Kita ada Tribunal Rafiq Hariri mengambil masa 15 tahun untuk membuktikan siapa yang melakukan genocide itu. Dan banyak lagi kes-kes yang menunjukkan bagaimana genocide telah berlaku lama dan penjenayah dihadapkan ke mahkamah mengambil masa belasan tahun kemudian dijatuhkan hukuman. Ada yang telah mati. Dan saya melihat bahawa kita kena hentikan genocide sedang berlaku di Palestin hari ini. Dan dalam masa yang sama, seperti mana yang telah langkah diambil oleh Profesor Datuk Rahmat tadi, menggunakan kuasa NGO pergi ke ICC, ya, dan melakukan sesuatu, itu satu perkara yang wajar kita dokongi dan juga sokongi dengan kewangan dan sebagainya. Saya cuba membawa isu yang harus kita lihat di sini, bagaimana tidak adilnya dunia kalau kita nak nyatakan di sini. Mana ya? Ya, kita ada dalam sistem antarabangsa, kita ada United Nations, PBB, di mana principle of rules-based international order. Ya, Tan Sri Syed Hamid Alba saya rasa begitu lama di dalam sistem ini dan melihat bagaimana sistem ini positifnya dan negatifnya. Tapi perlu kita ingat bahawa selama United Nations ditubuhkan selepas Perang Dunia Kedua, Perang Dunia tidak berlaku sehingga hari ini, tapi perang-perang berlaku, termasuk perang yang berlaku hari ini. Tetapi asas kepada penubuhan PBB to maintain international peace and security dalam konteks genocide yang berlaku di Gaza atau di Palestin memang tidak dapat dikawal ataupun dibasmi ataupun menggunakan kuasa yang mereka ada. Kerana adanya halangan-halangan ataupun adanya kekurangan yang diwujudkan sendiri oleh United Nations itu sendiri. Profesor Rahmat menyebut tadi tentang veto, ya. Beberapa bulan lepas Zelensky, antara yang penyokong kuat Israel juga dan juga penyokong Amerika, ya, mengutuk, condemn PBB, condemn United Nations Security Council kena isu veto. Ya, ICC telah mengambil hukuman, telah menjatuhkan hukuman warrant arrest kepada Vladimir Putin. Tapi dibebas hari ini. Ya. Jadi saya nak masukkan isu kuasa di sini menjadi isu yang besar yang masih lagi tidak ada resolusinya, tidak ada kata pemutusnya. Dan Charles Montesquieu pada abad ke-18 lagi telah menyebut bagaimana international law is a science which explains to kings how far they can violate justice without damaging their interests. Di abad 18 dahulu. And then kita ada special rapporteur Human Rights in Palestine daripada tahun 2016 hingga 2022. Apa dia kata daripada lebih kurang 5-6 tahun bersama dengan United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights. Dia kata since the origins of the questions of Palestine, international law in Palestine has been much closer to power rather than justice. So, abad ke-18 dan abad ke-21, isu yang sama masih lagi dibicarakan, isu power and justice, ya. Dan kita tengok yang saya katakan tadi, adanya kekurangan mungkin dapat mengatasi, tidak dapat menghalang perang dunia yang besar. Ya, kita ada League of Nations yang gagal menghalang perang dunia kedua, kemudian dibubarkan, ditubuhkan PBB. Dan PBB kekal hingga hari ini, 1945 hingga hari ini. Tapi perang-perang berlaku dan perang yang terkini kita tengok bagaimana isu ni dibicarakan, dibahaskan di United Nations General Assembly 27 Oktober yang lepas, ada voting, ya. In favor 120 mahukan ceasefire, majority against 14. Kemudian 45 lagi, ya, tidak mahu menunjukkan sokongan mana-mana, abstain. Dan pada 12 Disember, beberapa jam yang lepas, voting result untuk mendesak supaya berlakunya ceasefire in favor 153. Satu jumlah yang besar against 10. 10 itu termasuk Amerika. Dan juga saya tunjukkan di sini Amerika sama levelnya dengan Liberia. Sama levelnya dengan Papua New Guinea. hanya dua buah negara saja, dua buah negara Eropah saja yang sokong ataupun yang menentang resolusi ceasefire tadi. Ya, Czech Republic dengan Austria. Yang lain tu negara-negara yang kita tak kenal, Micronesia, negara apatah lagi yang hanya 10 buah negara yang bersama dengan Israel hari ini. Dan tolak negara-negara yang kecil tadi, hanya satu negara besar saja yang menyokongnya selain dari dua buah negara Eropah. Dan ini menunjukkan bagaimana Israel semakin terpinggir dan juga Amerika semakin terpinggir. Amerika sanggup meletakkan level Amerika sebuah negara yang so-called the most democratic country, negara yang bebas, ya, sama dengan kedudukan dengan Papua New Guinea, Liberia dan negara kecil yang lain. Dan isu resolusi terhadap against Israel ini bukan isu yang baru. Ya, since 1948, more than 100 United Nations Security Council resolutions concerning Israel in Palestine dah dibincangkan, buat resolusi di situ. Dan since 2006, sejak 2006, United Nations has adopted 297 resolutions against Israel. Paling tinggi. Dan kalau kita tengok di United Nations Human Rights Council, yang warna merah tu, daripada 2006, Israel berada di kedudukan paling tinggi sekali. Maksudnya, di United Nations Security Council, dibicarakan soal keganasan Israel dan adanya veto di situ. Diunggah United Nations General Assembly, resolusi lebih daripada hampir 300 resolusi, ya, dilaksanakan, diputuskan di General Assembly against Israel, termasuk yang terkini yang saya tunjukkan tadi. Dan juga di United Nations Human Rights Council, hampir 90 resolusi dibentuk. Ya. Isu ialah Permanent 5 yang disebutkan oleh Profesor Rahmat tadi. Vetonya di situ. Dan juga tidak binding. Ya. Di General Assembly tidak binding. Di Human Rights Council tidak binding. Dan Israel daripada 1948 hingga hari ini, ratusan resolusi mereka buat tak tahu saja. Bagi mereka tak kisah, it's not binding, ya. Dan kita tengok who vetoed the most at the United Nations, sebenarnya bukan Amerika. Sebenarnya adalah Russia yang mewarisi daripada Soviet Union dahulu. United Kingdom, China, France. Dan kalau kita tengok di sini, kita hari ini kita bicarakan tentang Israel dan kita nampak Amerika, isu vetonya di situ. Tapi sebenarnya sebelum ni pun Russia juga veto isu Ukraine. Ya. China juga menggunakan kuasa dia untuk isu Uyghur. Dia nampak di situ mereka seperti mana yang Montesquieu dan seperti mana yang saya sebutkan tadi, bagaimana isu justice, power and justice ni berada di peringkat antarabangsa hari ini, even di peringkat PBB. Baik. Dan kita tengok US vetos daripada 1954 hingga 2003, 34 kali US veto untuk isu berkait dengan Israel saja di Security Council. Dan yang 3 hari lepas, ya, semua orang tahu bagaimana US veto isu yang berkait bukan genocide, tapi isu berkait hanya soal ceasefire. Juga menggunakan kuasa veto dia untuk menyekat resolusi ini daripada dilaksanakan. Ceasefire hanya hentikan perang, hentikan keganasan untuk sementara, juga telah divetokan oleh Israel. Dan 2-3 hari lepas juga heboh diperkatakan tentang kita ada lagi satu mekanisme, satu artikel resolution 377A, ya, uniting for peace. Tapi kita perlu ingat, ini bukan perkara baru, sudah berlaku 70 kali lebih uniting for peace ni. Dan Israel pernah dibicarakan soal uniting for peace ini sebanyak 4 kali menggunakan resolusi 377 ini, dan juga seperti biasa it's not binding. Israel, Amerika masih lagi tak rasa apa. Ya. Jadi kita bercakap tentang resolusi artikel-artikel yang ada di bawah PBB, pertukaran yang ada di bawah PBB, kemudian resolusi 377 yang ada di peringkat PBB, dan tadi ada Sisi Agung PBB juga menggunakan kuasa dia, juga Israel tak mengendahkan, ya. Jadi kita menyaksikan soal double standard, ya. Kita menyaksikan soal national interest of America. Ada satu temu buang dengan seorang senator di Amerika. Now, kenapa Amerika terlalu sokong sangat Israel, unconditional support, sokongan tak berbelah bagi. Orang tanya kenapa? Dia kata kalau aku tak sokong Israel, ya siapa lagi dalam keadaan sekarang dan sebelum ini juga, Israel akan terhapus dengan sendiri, ya, akan hilang. Bila Israel hilang, dia kata aku akan hilang interest aku di Middle East. Dan ada vacuum di situ. Siapa akan masuk? Rusia akan masuk, China akan masuk, dia kata. Jadi Israel ada tempat yang paling besar untuk aku beri tumpuan untuk menjaga kepentingan kami di Middle East. Itu cadangan dia, ya. Dan we're talking about national interest of America, dan kita bercakap soal international judicial organs yang Prof. Rahmat ceritakan tadi. We have ICJ, we have International Criminal Court. ICC boleh mengambil tindakan tak sampai setahun kepada Putin, ya, untuk menggelar dia sebagai war crimes, ya. Dan dia bebas hingga hari ini. Ya, ada masa ICC ambil sampai belasan tahun untuk selesaikan. Dan kalau tengok dekat website ICC, list yang ada tu lebih kurang 34 dipercayaakan sekarang, semuanya namanya Abdul, Harun, Hamid, ya, nama-nama orang Islam semua. Dan kalau tengok kulitnya semua kulit hitam, ya, mostly from Africa. Sedangkan jenayah perang banyak lagi yang lain. Dan kalau tengok ICJ pula, macam saya kata tadi, ya, ambil masa yang panjang. Dan menarik, ya, Gambia bawa kes Myanmar. Jauh tu Myanmar dengan Gambia, tapi dibawa kes ni ke ICJ, ya, dan dapat backup daripada OIC rupanya, ya, untuk bawa kes ni. 2019 hingga sekarang masih lagi bicarakan. Maknanya Malaysia boleh bawa, ya, Prof. Rahmat, kalau nak bawa kes ni, ya, kalau kita, it's about political will kalau nak bawa. So ini bukan bidang saya nak bercakap panjang lebar, but kita ada avenue yang boleh kita gunakan, whether berkesan lama cerita lain, ya, macam saya katakan tadi, isu genocide, nak hentikan the genocide, dan juga untuk ambil tindakan kepada yang melakukan genocide tadi. Dan saya bawa ke ruang hubungan antarabangsa, international relations, ya, yang cuba menerangkan. We have theories in international relations try to explain the conduct of states, mostly based on 3 or 4 or 2 theories. Realism, ya, bercakap tentang dunia anarki. This is America lah. Kita kena jadi negara yang kuat kerana dunia anarki. Dia tak percaya kepada undang-undang antarabangsa, dan terbukti, ya, bagaimana dia tak percaya kepada undang-undang antarabangsa. Mereka bercakap tentang hegemoni, mereka bercakap tentang power, mereka bercakap tentang kekuatan. Dan adanya teori liberalism, bercakap tentang we should cooperate, dengan kerjasama itu akan menuju ke keamanan, ya. Dan kita percaya kepada organisasi antarabangsa, PBB sebagai contoh, ya, kita kena bagi kepercayaan itu. Dan bercakap tentang baginya kepercayaan kepada international law. Dalam soal perang, we have a just at bellum, undang-undang perang, just war. Dan kita ada just in bello, undang-undang ketika perang. Maksudnya dalam isu peperangan di dunia ni dah ada undang-undang dah. Mewarisi customary law dahulu, undang-undang adat perang ribuan tahun, ya. Dan hari ini we have Geneva Convention on International Humanitarian Law, ya. Dan dalam masa yang sama kita ada satu lagi teori, social constructivism, yang ni saya nak tekankan. Bagaimana dua teori di atas ya, secara dasar kita melihat gagal untuk mewujudkan keamanan. Ya. Pertama, ada negara yang percaya kepada kuasa, hegemoni Amerika. Mereka menjadi orang yang mencetuskan peperangan mungkin, ya, mencetuskan ketidakamanan. Dan kita ada teori liberalism, percaya kepada organisasi antarabangsa, percaya kepada undang-undang antarabangsa. Tetapi undang-undang antarabangsa, just act below, ya, dan sebagainya itu, humanitarian law sebagainya itu tidak dapat menyelesaikan masalah perang atau masalah yang berlaku hari ini. Social constructivism bercakap tentang, dia kata apa yang berlaku hari ini datang daripada ideas dan belief. Dunia kita yang buat, dia kata. Ya. So, dia bercakap tentang bagaimana dunia ini boleh bertukar kerana wujudnya ideas dan kepercayaan. Tuan-tuan, puan-puan, idea tentang genocide datang daripada individu. Raphael Lemkin, 1943, sebelum berakhirnya Perang Dunia Kedua. Ya? Dia mencetuskan perkara genocide. Dia adalah peguam dan dia adalah social aktivis. Dan pada masa itu tidak ada seorang pun di politicians negara bercakap tentang genocide. Sehingga kan Churchill, dia kata pembunuhan yang berlaku di Jerman itu, yang kita talking about Holocaust, is the crimes without names. Jenayah tidak ada nama. Dia tak tahu nak tak nama apa. Pembunuhan yang luar biasa, dia kata. This is a crime of crimes bagi dia. Jadi, tapi Lemkin itu dengan dia sendiri dan juga mengajak kawan-kawan dia, cuba untuk buktikan daripada idea dia, cuba untuk buktikan bahawa ini adalah satu jenayah yang besar dan beri nama genocide. Ya. Dan ini digunakan pakai pada 1948.
Last 3 minutes, eh?
Ya, digunakan pada tahun 1948 dalam Geneva Convention, dalam Genocide Convention. Dan hari ini, international experts call on international community to prevent genocide. Ya, international community consists of negara dan masyarakat dunia. So, ideas dan kepercayaan hari ini sudah tersebar. Nah, di Amerika 2 hari lepas, saya melihat di Al Jazeera, apabila Biden mula bercakap, dia kata, kalau kita tak buat sesuatu, masyarakat Amerika akan tak sokong kita lagi. I mean that idea and belief dah bertukar dah. Dekat Amerika itu sendiri. Yeah? So this is the theory in social movement, international society, state system. Saya tak nak sentuh sangat. Dan kita tengok bagaimana di Amerika tentang civil rights movement mengasa puluhan tahun. Bermula daripada idea, gerakan, kepercayaan dan dapat menghapuskan perbezaan warna kulit. Di Amerika, civil rights, hak mereka diberi. Di apartheid di Afrika, bagaimana isu ini bermula daripada idea dan dibawa oleh NGO dan juga oleh kumpulan-kumpulan pendesak, advocacy dan dapat menghapuskan genocide. Dan kita tengok hari ini menghapuskan apartheid. Dan kita tengok hari ini this is gambar di Washington DC, di Congress. Dan kita tengok this is di London. Bagaimana desakan untuk menghentikan perang dan mendesak badan antarabangsa mengambil tindakan pada Israel memang berlaku. So, kita bercakap tentang the role of nation state hari ini. Peranan badan ataupun aktor bukan negara yang semakin nampak, ya, ICC sebagai contohnya, NGO sebagai contoh, humanitarian ada, kemudian adanya advocacy dan adanya kumpulan yang pergi kepada legal pursuit. Dan satu perkara yang saya nak sampaikan juga adalah bagaimana soft power yang mungkin Malaysia ada, yang boleh kita gunakan, ya, untuk bersama menghentikan genocide ini. Dan yang keduanya, bagaimana kita menggunakan religious diplomacy. IAIS boleh menjadi sebagai aktornya, ya, di Malaysia untuk gerakkan religious diplomacy yang semakin ditinggalkan. Yang mana kalau kita tengok, di Amerika yang menggerakkan isu-isu berkait dengan kemanusiaan sama ada pro-Israel ataupun against Israel adalah church. Begitu dengan Eropah, di Afrika juga. So saya mencadangkan supaya dalam gerak kerja untuk hentikan genocide atau mengambil tindakan undang-undang, religious diplomasi digunakan. Dan ini all these NGO activities untuk menghalang perang sebagainya telah di United Nation iktiraf, dan ada database-nya di United Nation database tentang apa peranan, apa yang dibawa oleh NGO dan CSO di peringkat mereka. Baik. So, issue and challenges. To what extent Malaysian government and non-state actors are able to work together strategically. Brother Jasmine buat satu kerja yang amat bagus. Bagaimana menghubungkan Wisma Putra dengan NGO. Ya, dan hari ini kita buat advocacy macam ni. Ini salah satunya. Ya. Ya. And then saya rasa kita perlu kembangkan lagi. Ini tidak berlaku sebelum ni, Brother Jasmine dan sahabat-sahabat semua. Apabila Wisma Putra, kerajaan bersama dengan NGO dengan SSO bergerak bersama untuk menghentikan kekejaman berlaku di Israel, di Palestine. Yang keduanya, can Malaysian and non-state actors lead the transnational NGO advocacy and global civil society organisation. Dan saya rasa kita perlu. Malaysia ada nama, kita ada kekuatan, rakyat kita tak ada isu. Mungkin saya katakan 90% menyokong Palestine, perjuangan Palestine, dan juga condemn Israel. Kita tak macam negara lain, ya. Kita agak memang jelas negara kita memang menentang ataupun condemn Israel dari sudut apa yang berlaku hari ini dan sebelum ni. Tapi sejauh mana kita boleh menjadi pemimpin untuk bawa isu ini di peringkat antarabangsa? Prof Rahmat tadi dah bercakap soal mereka bersendirian hari ini, hanya My Aqsa, ya, Foundation. Why not ramai lagi bersama dengan mereka? Ya, Jasmine, how many NGOs under bawah you? 40s? 50? 53? We have 100 NGO, almost thousands NGO in Malaysia, for example. So macam mana kita boleh gabungkan? So itu saja, tuan-tuan dan puan semua. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih banyak Prof di atas penjelasan. Patut sebut pasal BDS movement tu, kita tunggu tu. BDS sikit lagi. Ya, saya jemput semua pergi layari laman web BDS Malaysia. Baik, our final panelist before I hand over my duty for Q&A, Professor Gurdial Singh Nijar, Advocate, Solicitor and Legal Consultant, Law Firm GS Nijar, UNDP GEF Project of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, UNDP GEF Project of the Sarawak Biodiversity Centre, Legal and Law degree from King's College London, Masters and PhD in Law from University Malaya, was a law professor at UM for 16 years, and sebagai disebut tadi, Chief Prosecutor for Kuala Lumpur International War Crime Tribunal and the immediate past President of Hakam. Untuk semua nak baca tentang Sabra Shatila Massacre, there is a book written by a Malaysian-born Chinese doctor, Dr. Ang Swee Chai. It's in Bahasa, it's at the back. Please contribute to Ops-Ihsan. What we're trying to say is, this is the man who was the Chief Prosecutor, and Prof, the floor is yours. You have, I guess, since I gave everyone 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moderator Puan Nurul Izzah, distinguished guests and friends. Now, we're talking about genocide a great deal, but there is no hierarchy in war crimes. This must be made clear. Genocide is one of the war crimes that we are talking about. And Prof. Rahmat has said, a lot of people are saying, yes, this is genocide, broadly speaking, and others are saying, no, this is not genocide. We have a genocide convention which sets out what is genocide. 1948, the convention came into existence. 1951, the International Court of Justice said that genocide is part of customary international law, right? So we don't even have to rely on a convention, and it is something that can be maintained against states which carry out certain kinds of activities. But Israel, for example, and its allies say this is not genocide. You must show intention to wipe out a whole ethnic population. But we are not wiping out the whole ethnic population. We are only going after Hamas and whoever is stopping us from getting to Hamas. So they say, so there are no real physical acts that we are committing against a whole of the Palestinian population intentionally. So it's not genocide. And then they say, this is our right of self-defense. Everybody seems to echo. President Biden and the European Union countries, most of them, say, yes, you have a right of self-defense because 7th October, you had a situation where, horrendous activities were carried out. So we have the right of self-defense. This is not genocide. And then they say that there is, and if you look at the population, we have not wiped out the population. Population is there. Although we see on TV a lot of atrocities being carried out, but we are also giving warning to Palestinians because we want to protect a large number of Palestinians. We are saying, look, move somewhere else because we are going to bomb this place. So please move the other side. So it's not genocide. So let's explore. What is really genocide? I think it's important for us to know because people use the term very loosely. Yeah. Now, there are two things you must establish if you want to show or prove genocide. The first is you must show not just an intention, but a very specific intention to destroy a whole or part of a national, ethnic, religious, or any group. So there must be a specific intent. So you must show that that is the intention of the perpetrator, someone who wants to carry out genocide. That's the first element. The second element, it says, is there must be clear dynamics of violence. There must be clear violent activity that is being carried out with intention to destroy a large number of the population based on ethnicity and so on. So let's see. Intention and actual physical acts of violence must merge. Then only Article 2 of the Genocide Convention is satisfied. So let's look at the question of intention. Now, if you look at the Palestine situation, it's very unique because you can look at circumstances. First is there is a great deal of articulation by the media, by political leaders, by public pronouncements, by the leaders, former leaders of Israel, for example, where they have demonized the population of Gaza, the entire population of Gaza. And this is done by those who are in command responsibility, people like Netanyahu, people who are controlling the military forces, people who are in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You hear of them almost every day in at least in Al Jazeera, if not in the other situations. So you even have the president of Israel, all right? He says, he blames all of the Palestinian population in Gaza for the acts of Hamas. He does not distinguish in his public statements. I'm talking about, now we are looking at the statements to show intent. Because intent, of course, you cannot, go into a person's brain cells to see what he really intended. You must judge him by his actions. So we are judging by the language, the statements that are being made by a wide range of people. Netanyahu himself said, he said we must reduce Palestine into a rubble, which means we must destroy it very completely. He even invoked a biblical story, right? we won't go into that, but a biblical story which talks about the destruction of all those who do not tie up with your beliefs. Netanyahu, after 7th October, and as IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, was launching their attack of the war on Gaza. And so in their articulation, what they have said, all of Palestine is a legitimate enemy. And this language can be seen to show the very clear intent of Israel to decimate, to destroy the population of Palestine as a whole. So that's the intention part, which I'll elaborate a little more in a while. Then the physical act. So you must show intention, Article 2. You must also show the actual dynamics of violence that you carry out to implement your intention. And here you have, they started off not just against Hamas, and don't forget they act against West Bank, and West Bank is not controlled by Hamas, right? They are also acting against that. But as regards Gaza, there's a total siege of Gaza. No food can enter, no electricity can be allowed, no fuel is going to be allowed in, no water at all. Total siege of a population, of the whole population, not just those who support Hamas, for example, right? So you have a total siege, and then you have the kind of language that accompanies that siege and the action, the actual physical action. They call them vermins. They call these human animals. They frame the whole thing in the context of the Holocaust, right? So they say it is like the Holocaust, and the Holocaust was about the entire elimination, intent, and the physical acts by Germany against the Jewish population. So they frame it within that context and call the population of Palestine as Nazis, which means, as far as Israel is concerned, it involves the entire elimination of the entire population. So, now, so the framing itself, you can see, is trying to twist the whole of history. You must understand, as far as the Holocaust was concerned, it was a powerful German military war machine against a powerless people. Now they are framing it in terms of the fact that Palestine is carrying out a Holocaust against Israel, when in fact Israel is a powerful nuclear military power, and it is against a powerless population. We have seen the images. They can launch airstrike, they can launch ground, they can launch sea, they control the coastline, they control all the borders. There are 7 borders. We always hear only about Rafah. But there are 6 other borders which are totally controlled by, of Gaza, that are totally controlled by Israel. And they use language that is dehumanizes the Palestinian people. And the only times then they recognize them as human beings and refer to them as human beings is when they want to justify the attack against the entire population by saying, yes, they are humans, but they are human shields, and therefore they have to be eliminated as well, because they're providing the terrorists, so-called terrorists, the wherewithal to carry out the. So if you look at the entire, it's okay. So if you look at the entire cumulative, all right, if you look at the entire cumulative acts that they have been doing, there is a merger, as I said, of the intention in terms of the articulation, and you also had the physical acts of violence that we see every day, which is wherein they are killing children, women, just about everything. They are bombing hospitals, schools, and on the guise that there are some tunnels and some evidence of the fact that there have been militants in the surroundings. They're destroying the agricultural lands. They are using white phosphorus, right? White phosphorus is, where you release a bomb or you release this missile, it attaches to your skin and begins then at any time, anyone who comes into contact with that, it will burn, incinerate the human being. All this is being perpetrated, and then more than tons of bombs have been dropped. And as I think someone mentioned just now, it amounts to the amount of bombs that were dropped, the bombs that were dropped, atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. So can you imagine in a matter of 2 months, against this population, which has no military force of any kind, of any significance, all this is being launched. And every day we hear, yesterday they said 250 strikes. Day before yesterday was 500 strikes against this population. That is so the whole claim, all this suggests that this claim that their only objective is to seek out certain Hamas actors is a total lie. And we see every day this lie being perpetrated, taking different shapes, different forms, and being perpetrated by Western media, by Northern media. So I think we have seen most of it. There is very little purpose in me elaborating on this point. But you know, it is getting from bad to worse, because it's not only a question of, for example, nothing that is being given to the Palestinian civilian population, to children and so on and so forth. You know, even WHO has come out and said this is a disastrous situation. Diseases are going to spread, which means they'll die. Some will live, some will die. And those who are wounded, there is no access to hospitals or medicine. Even when there's access to hospitals, there is no facility for carrying out, for example, any treatment. If the treatment is done, it is done under very torturous conditions. There is no anesthesia. So if they're going to do an operation or to cut somebody open, right, it has to be done without anesthesia. And this is being done to children, to women, to men, and to elderly, vulnerable persons itself. So you have this classic situation. This is a classic case of genocide. It's a classic case, it's a textbook case of genocide, where you carry out physical violence, you starve people, and you starve access to anything that can provide any sustenance to the population as a whole. And you see the international community. I mean, you know, America is touted as a great rule of law and, you know, law and order and so on. And you look at what happened with regard to Ukraine, for example. After a month or two, Biden came out. He said, this is genocide. He said that. This is genocide. But in this case, he said, no, this is right of self-defense. They are entitled to pursue, and they only refer to 7th October. They don't want to refer to anything else. Can you imagine if you see, to understand, for example, a story, we watch series, right, on Netflix. I'm a Netflix addict, by the way, right? When you watch Netflix and somebody tells you, you just start from the 7th episode to understand what the story is all about and forget about what the rest of the 1st to 6th episode. And that's what's happening to the case in Palestine. They're saying everything starts from 7th October of 2023. When you want to talk about the historical context, the first 6 episodes, they say, no, that's not relevant. This is the horrendous act that happened, and this has to be treated in a particular way. So you ignore the 16-year siege, you ignore the 75 years, you ignore the 1948 displacement of the Palestinians, where 750,000 of the population at that time living in that particular area were displaced, and villages and houses were torched, and people driven away with no right of return. All right, then this question of, let me just very quickly deal with this self-defense. Now they say there's a right of self-defense. First, in international law, there cannot be a right of self-defense because you are the occupying power. All right, if you are in a house, you want to defend yourself against somebody who comes and transgresses into you, you have the right of self-defense. The right of self-defense is can only be in respect of a situation where you're not the occupying power, but you're in control. So what self-defense are you talking about when you're in complete control of the Gaza Strip? So in international law, you have a right to repel an attack, but you are in control, so there's no question of repelling an attack. So there is no basis for the right of self-defense that we hear about. Then there's also the question of incitement. Now, if you look, for example, I've been told that the Hebrew media in Israel itself is baying for blood every day. All right, all their main media talks about we want to see million bodies of Palestinians that must be killed. All right, they are talking about flattening Gaza. They are talking about that Gaza Strip must be treated as a slaughterhouse. This is all from, quote unquote, from the Hebrew media itself, which has been translated and made accessible, luckily for us, through the social media. And they talk about this is the second Nakba. The first Nakba, as I said, was when 750,000 villages were burned, people were thrown out, and with no right of self-return. And now they are talking about this, we shall create the second Nakba. Now this is the refrain that we are hearing now in the media itself, in the papers itself. So you have a situation where they are arming in Israel itself. They are saying such a horrendous thing occurred 7th October, giving out arms to citizens, ordinary Israeli citizens, creating this whole atmosphere, and then saying we must have self-defense units set up. And we must not forget, there is a large amount of population of Palestinians actually living in Israel. We are talking about double-digit thousands who are living there, if not more. His Excellency may be able to confirm that. There are also Palestinians living in East Jerusalem, for example. East Jerusalem is supposed to be the capital of revived Palestine state. And this is the kind of atmosphere that is not only allowing for the creation for genocide that is being perpetrated in the Gaza Strip, but an atmosphere is being created all throughout Israel, all throughout East Jerusalem, of a situation where a Palestinian is seen as an enemy target and has to be killed, because the theory that is being put forward is that either you kill him or you will be killed, and you have a right of self-defense to kill a person who you anticipate may in the future kill you. So the point then is there must be accountability. The press, for example, there is also, if you incite genocide, as the press and as a large number of the population of the former senior leaders we see every now and then in the newspaper, in the TV, they are talking about, what has to be done and so on and so forth to clear up Gaza Strip. Now, this is incitement. Under Article 3, if you incite genocide, you are also a perpetrator of the crime relating to genocide under the convention itself. And these are individuals who can be identified very easily. And therefore, there is a need for accountability of these people as well, causing incitement. Now, Israel occupies a very unique position because of the Holocaust, because of the history, because of the conscience that the Europeans feel. They have created an aura of impunity for Israel. Israel can do anything and get away with it. And there is straight away an apology, right? Biden, for example, straight away he comes, Blinken, right? With Blinken, who is, blinked as to the atrocities that are being committed, if I may say so. They come and visit Israel to fortify it. They send arms. Even now, they are sending arms to Israel to keep to allow for this impunity to go on. And that is the reason for the veto. They will not allow Israel to be touched. You know, when they wanted to attack Iraq, although there was no Security Council resolution that allowed for Iraq, although it was based on false grounds, they still proceeded to attack Iraq without any basis whatsoever. And here you have a situation where, when there is a clear basis as to what is going on, this is being shut out through a variety of methods by the European Union and by America and some of its allies. So they simply will not allow any investigation as such. Then we come to the ICC. We need not go in detail because that has been dealt with at length by the previous speakers. But the situation is that there is a need to stop this rot. You have to stop genocide, and you have to punish genocide, and you have to prevent genocide. That is the obligation of all states under the Geneva Convention. And there has been now action already initiated in, for example, the Center for Constitutional Law in America has filed an action against Biden and many senior officers, senior people, in their courts for complicity because of their active promotion of Israel and the grant and they're giving away, the sending of arms which are being used in the destruction of Gaza and the Palestinian people. There is also an action in Netherlands because some of the parts of the planes of the armaments that are being shipped are being provided in the factories that are in the Netherlands itself. So there is a variety of action that can be carried out by state actors, non-state actors, and so on. And that's a very important point. Of course, Israel, as I said, remains impune, but today itself, slowly, the United States itself, after seeing all these terrible things that are being committed against civilians, against hospitals, against schools, against UN, WRA staff, and so on and so forth, suddenly are cautioning people. Today, just before I came here, I switched on TV, and Biden off the conference, in other words, in an unofficial setting, he was quoted as saying that, I'm afraid Israel has to do something a little more moderate, else their support for them, the international support for them is crumbling. So they themselves begin to recognize that this cannot go on at this state. That something has got to be done to stop the carnage that is going on. Of course, Biden is doing it for his own purpose. The moment after 7th October, he came out with a statement because, he's standing for election. He thought that is a popular move. But now suddenly he realized there's a large number of people power is manifesting itself, right, in the streets of New York and in various other states in the cities in the US and in various other parts of Europe itself. So they are now beginning to waver a little and saying, we got to moderate this. And they are saying, when you do this, when you start killing and continue with your carnage, because we are not going to allow for a ceasefire, do it such that it is soft. Do it softly and gently. When you kill gently. When you allow them to starve, do it in a manner in which the press cannot pick up and show that, look, you are giving them no bread at all. You require, under the WHO, for example, you require 300 liters of water a day. You're only giving them 3 liters. So now increase that a little bit to show the world community that it is something that's acceptable.
We're going to have Q&A after this.
Sorry?
Be close, and then we're going to have a Q&A.
Yes.
Up, yeah?
So one final point I want to make is this whole question of they are saying, we look at Piers Morgan and all these people who conduct interviews on TV. They are saying, look at the you are saying genocide, but look at the population. No doubt some parts are being bombed and so on, but the population you can see being crowded now. Many of them although they are displaced from the north to the south, which is a crime in itself in, moving populations like this. It's a crime because in Nazi Germany, it is inspired by the fact that the Jews were moved from one place to the other and finally ended up in gas chambers, many of them. So this is also a crime. But they say, look, cannot be genocide because you look, these people, so many people you can see on TV. Okay, some of them are wounded, some of them are half dead, some of them are in rubbles. But generally speaking, the population is intact. Just a reminder that genocide is not a one-off activity. It is a process. Even in Germany, what happened was, finally, the final solution, kill all Jews, came after a long process of activity that was carried out by Nazi Germany. And this then is the kind of characterization that is being done by Israel, the modern Nazi Germanys who are carrying out this terrible genocide against the Palestinian population, both in Gaza as well as in the West Bank. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dato' Prof. And allow me to invite my replacement, Encik Zaid bin Muhammad Ghazali. It is your turn to conduct the Q&A. Thank you very much, panelists. And please, everyone, take the chance to ask difficult questions because these are real experts and at your disposal.
Thank you, Puan Nuruza. Right. Good evening, howdy. Okay. I'm Samba, Nasrin Juzaili. Right now is my turn to literally facilitating you guys in terms of Q&A. Okay. And thank you, respectful panelists, because really insightful, delightful information related to the issue of between Palestine and Israel. So therefore, I would love to any NGOs, any of you guys that wanted to pose a question to the panelists. Yeah, right. Where are you from and what you are representative for?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Hi, my name is Jeffrey. I'm from University of Malaya. As a matter of fact, I'm actually a Puan Nur Halida's student for international humanitarian law. So my question is actually quite relevant to debunk some of the myths that have been circulating around, especially among people who adopt the ideology of Zionism or who are being Zionist apologists. So as a matter of fact, we can see that the claim over Palestine is actually an act of irredentism, which is a desire for a country to annex another country due to historical claims. And this ideology has actually been manifested in the annexation of Crimea by Russia, or even the concept of Akan Barat by far-right Hindus groups in India, by which they call as Akan Barat, which lay claims over the entirety of the Indian subcontinent. So my question is very simple. Is there any basis of such claim in the sphere of international law in founding a country? That's all.
Thank you. Do you guys want to directly to answer, or we accumulate the question first? So your question just have to directly to any of the panelists.
Hello, Dr. Nasno. Dr. Nasno.
All right, thank you for the question. Correct me if I'm wrong. The question is whether or not there is any legal basis for annexation. When we talk about acquiring territory, when you talk about annexation, as we all know, ever since the United Nations was established in 1945, there is a principle under Article 2, Clause 4 that prohibits use of force against other states. And this prohibition of use of force also covers situation whereby a territory is acquired as a result of force. And that is clearly stated under international law. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Maybe we should also look at crime of aggression. If you are looking at annexation, there is no such thing as annexation to allow state to annex territory of another state. That is very basic. That is a 300-year-old Westphalia principle that has been established, and we should uphold that. But what happened now is that Israel is trying to annex. I'm sure they want to take over Gaza. So that is not acceptable under international law. It's so obvious that would amount to aggression under the Rome Statute. Yeah, thank you.
No. Yes. All right. So, that's it.
Okay, one question from the floor. Nama?
Taufik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Taufik daripada Innovative International College. Soalan saya adalah, selain pembunuhan beramai-ramai, apa lagi jenayah antarabangsa yang boleh dibuat tanggungjawab terhadap rezim Israel? Bolehkah kita menjangkakan ini akan berlaku tidak lama lagi? Sila perhalusikan lagi.
Do you guys get the question? Okay, can you repeat again?
Okay. Selain pembunuhan beramai-ramai, apa lagi jenayah antarabangsa yang boleh dibuat dan bertanggungjawab terhadap rejim Israel? Bolehkah kita menjangkakan ini akan berlaku tidak lama lagi? Okay, thank you.
Kalau kita lihat dalam Rome Statute itu sendiri meletakkan beberapa jenayah antarabangsa yang boleh menjatuhkan hukum kepada penjenayah. Ya, tadi saya kata war crime, crime against humanity, genocide dan juga aggression. Ya, ini 4 yang diletakkan di bawah bidang kuasa mahkamah jenayah antarabangsa. Dan ini sudah berlaku, ya, sudah ada bukti. Sebenarnya bukan seperti mana yang Prof. Nija kata tadi, bukan start daripada 7 Oktober. Dah sebelum itu lagi dah berlaku berabad-abad, berkurun-kurun lagi, ya, sejak Israel mengambil Palestin, ya, tahun 48 dah ada. Jadi berapa 75 tahun, berapa dekad sudah berlaku pembunuhan. Tetapi seperti mana yang kita tahu, Israel terlepas, ya. Jadi itu sebab kita tidak meletakkan, there is this perception that they are impune. Nothing is being done to ensure that this perpetrator of crime will be punished. Under now we have ICC, but ICC took place berapa tahun baru ada. Tapi we hope that justice and peace will prevail at the end of the day. Ya? Dan ini kita harap akan berlaku, dan kita tidak ada lagi struktur yang ada dalam dunia ini selain daripada UN, selain daripada UNSC, selain daripada ICC. Jadi kalau kita negative about it, then there's nothing can be done. We must look in a different manner. What if there is no UN, there is no Security Council, there is no ICC? It will be worse off. Jadi kita mengharapkan, kita meletakkan harapan. Masalah kita, sistem demokratik dunia ini, kita memberikan mandat kepada UNSC. Ya, kita pernah berbincang tentang meletakkan mandat untuk mengenal pasti sama ada penyiasatan, sama ada dakwaan dibuat itu kepada UNSC. Ya, dan mereka boleh menutup kes tersebut, mereka boleh membuka, mereka juga boleh menutup. Jadi kuasa ini diletakkan kepada UNSC ataupun Majlis Keselamatan. Ya, but we should not give hope. Ya, there must always be hope. Dan insyaAllah, ya, kita akan berjaya. Ambassador Walid, I'm looking at you. Thank you. You want to say something?
All right. Okay. There's another question from this gentleman. Thank you. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Al Jazeera Television. I think if there is no United Nations, no ICC, I think the world will be much better. Much better. Yeah, much better. Because those people who are in charge of this, what's you called international community, they don't feel guilty when they are seeing those people killed every day. Your Excellency said that the duty of us, of everybody, to prevent the crime, to prevent the genocide, we failed. We could not prevent it in Palestine since 75 years. We could not in the recent time, and not the continuous now. We are unable to stop it. Now, we are sitting here. We can say the surgery is successful, but the patient died. We are doing well academically, we are studying very well, but unfortunately, the patient is died finished. So when we go to the history, they are looking to the Palestinians are Red Indians of the United States. They are looking to the Palestinians, those, I'm speaking the Westerns, the Europeans. We did not commit any crime against the Jews in the history. Who committed the crimes? Who sent them to us? Sent the Jews to the Middle East, to Palestine, is the Europeans. By transferring them or by suppressing them. Is the crime against Jews committed in Europe, and we are paying the price for that. How come those people, when Karim Khan coming to visit Israel in the time of war and defending them and saying that they have the right to defense, and they did not say that they are defending the illegal occupation of Palestine. We are under occupation. They have faced to liberate the Palestinians and see if we are able, if we can commit any crime against the Jews. We did not commit any crime against Jews before 1948. We fight against aggressors. We do not fight against the Jews. We fight against whether they are Arabs, Muslims, Christians, or anybody else. So how can we trust this judicial system of international community?
Thank you, sir.
I have to agree with Tan Sri. There's no answer, but I am a firm believer that crime must be, perpetrator of crime must be punished. That we have to work, we work hard for it. That one day, inshallah, we will see this happening. It'll take some time. You look at the war crimes. Yes, I agree with you totally. We have to stop. Mr. Karim Khan, in fact, in his statement in Cairo, had said something about it's wrong to kill people. He said that in Cairo. Well, while he was in Israel, he did not say that. But when he moved to Cairo, he said something of that effect. So I hope that there's this window that he will proceed with the investigation, inshallah.
Can I say something? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Panelists, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to highly appreciate the initiative of Ops-Ihsan of creating this forum. And it's another initiative by Malaysians to show the continuous support and solidarity to Palestine. So thank you, Ops-Ihsan. Thank you, Jasmine. And in a few moments, I know time is late, but let me just appreciate much what is being covered by the panelists and by the moderator who left already. As a Palestinian ambassador, let me just re-emphasize and highlight a topic which I think everybody, not just in Malaysia, all over the globe needs to understand that we as Palestinians, whenever we talk about human rights and we talk about legal aspect of the Palestinian cause, we have to understand that Palestinians are categorized to 4 categories. Category number 1, 1.5 million Palestinians who remained in historical Palestine, remained in what's called Israel, and they were forced to take the Israeli citizenship, and they hold the Israeli passports, and they are victims of discrimination in Israel because they are treated as second-class citizens. That's category number 1. Category number 2, 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza Strip, who have been suffering for siege or under siege for the last 16 years. An international community witnessed and still witnessing the suffering of the 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza Strip on daily basis, and international institutions who are represented in Palestine witness the suffering of Palestinians of the very basic humanitarian needs in terms of the daily needs that any human being needs anywhere in the globe. Third category, 3 million Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem who are victims of the Israeli settlers' terrorism, who are victims of the Israeli blockades, who are victims of the Israeli violation of international law on daily basis, who are victims when they constructed this discrimination wall which separated even parents from their children. 3 million Palestinians are suffering as much as other 2 categories are suffering. The total is 7 million of Palestinians, and almost the same number of Palestinians who are living in diaspora, and they are struggling and fighting for the right of return. This makes a total of plus minus 14 million Palestinians, where they've been suffering since the creation of Israel, of the first Nakba you mentioned, 15th of May 1948, which is known as the Independence Day of Israel, which is our day of catastrophe. It's our Nakba. An international community for 7.5 decades been witnessing the suffering of the Palestinian people. I know tonight we are looking into law, humanity, a humanitarian law, and how can we benefit out of the ICC. And I can talk for hours, but let me just conclude the following. The issue is not law. The issue is violation of the international law, which is witnessed by all international community. The issue that Palestinians have been victims of the double standards. The issue that the international community look through one eye to the Palestinian suffering. When it comes to Israel, any voice in the Western world in particular, immediately it's reacted anti-Semitism. But where were the international community when the Israelis were attacking refugee camps, when they were putting 2.3 million under siege in Gaza, when they invade al-Masjid al-Aqsa on daily basis, when the settlers are allowed to use our territories, our water in the West Bank, and Palestinians are not permitted to use their own water. Where is the international community of witnessing refugee camps striked and airstruck by the Israeli air forces in Lebanon and in Syria? Where is the international community witnessing the suffering of Palestinian refugees all over? So, for the last 5 years I've been in Malaysia, we've been working shoulder to shoulder with my Aqsa, trying to sponsor a case in ICC. And the issue was discussed first through the OIC summit in Jeddah, when Deputy Prime Minister Wan Aziza was the Deputy Prime Minister with my Aqsa, and they had briefed all OIC countries. So I proudly appreciate and salute what my Aqsa has been doing for the last 5-6 years. They went to Palestine, they went to Al-Quds, they went to Ad al-Hummus, they went to Al-Isawiyah, they went to Gaza, and they had collected together with the embassy evidences, and we tried to help as much as we can to work together to have all the evidences, and the case was introduced to ICC and is still going on over there. This initiative of Ops-Ihsan, it's an addition, another initiative which can continue the efforts of my Aqsa, where we can work together and we could encourage some other OIC members to sponsor similar cases, which will help the legal issue in ICC and in the international community to understand the Palestinian cause. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Visitor. All right. We have to close this session. It's actually run out of time. So therefore, I would love to pass this baton to our MCs for tonight. All right. Mr. Zaid from National Sports Institute. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasno. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to call upon Mr. Jismi Johari, Chairman of Ops-Ihsan Secretariat, the Coalition of Malaysian Humanitarian NGO, to deliver his thank you speech, and followed by giving the token of appreciation from Yayasan Restu and IAIS Malaysia to our esteemed moderator and panelists. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Profesor Dr. Mazli Malik, Chairman of IAIS, sahabat saya yang bersama-sama ke Gaza pada tahun 2013. Tan Sri Syed Hamid Alba, Your Excellency Mr. Walid Abu Ali, the Ambassador of Palestine, esteemed guests, our respective speakers for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for being here tonight, listening to what we have put up for you. The main intention of this forum is to call for action. Since October 7, sejak Oktober 7 hari bulan Oktober, kita telah sedar yang isu Palestin ini bukan kecil. Dan sejak daripada Oktober 7, kita dah tengok dan kita nampak betapa kejamnya rejim Zionis dalam cuba menghancurkan sebuah tanah kecil yang tidak mempunyai apa-apa kebebasan. Jadi jawapan daripada kami semua ialah Ops-Ihsan dengan menubuhkan satu gabungan dan masih lagi menerima gabungan NGO-NGO yang ingin bernaung di bawah Ops-Ihsan bersama-sama dengan Kerajaan Malaysia melalui Kementerian Luar Negeri membuat inisiatif membantu mereka di Gaza melalui bantuan barangan kemanusiaan dan juga beberapa perancangan seperti menghantar pakar-pakar perubatan apabila ceasefire telah diadakan. Dan inisiatif pada malam ini adalah untuk kita belajar daripada semua panelis kita dan juga daripada My Aqsa bagaimana kita nak terus filekan kes ni ke ICC.
Selain daripada itu, saya juga ingin memperkenalkan inisiatif sukarelawan di bawah Ops-Ihsan yang akan dikelolakan oleh My Corps Alumni. My Corps Alumni akan melatih sukarelawan untuk penempatan di mana-mana ada keperluan dan ada peluang untuk kita sama-sama membantu mereka di Gaza setelah selesai segala-gala gencatan senjata dan apabila semua orang dapat masuk ke dalam Gaza. So, saya ingin menyeru rakan-rakan semua bersama-sama kita cari jalan. Of course, semua orang daripada sejak Oktober 7, semua orang memang mencari jalan dan peluang untuk melakukan sesuatu untuk membantu mereka, saudara mara kita di Gaza. Seperti yang kita lihat apabila kita buka keperluan barangan untuk kita hantar ke Gaza, hanya dalam masa 48 jam pada 21 dan 22 Oktober, kami dapat kumpul lebih kurang 50 tan barangan yang bernilai 7 juta ringgit. Dan dihantar pada 3 dan 10 hari bulan November, dan sebanyak 34 tan telah berjaya melepasi pintu Rafah, sempadan Rafah dan masuk ke Gaza. Dan insya-Allah pada 18 hari bulan ni kita akan ada penghantaran ketiga sebanyak 60 tan, di mana 40 tan lebih adalah barangan perubatan. Inilah usaha kami di Ops-Ihsan untuk menukar emosi marah tu kepada sesuatu yang positif. Dan kami juga menyeru kepada rakan-rakan semua yang mempunyai kepakaran, kepandaian. Lebih-lebih lagi pada malam ini kita berbincang berkenaan dengan undang-undang antarabangsa untuk mencari formulasi dan cara macam mana kita boleh bersama-sama mengheret sama ada rejim Zionis ataupun Netanyahu ataupun mana-mana pemimpin Israel ke muka pengadilan. Memang of course kita akan rasa jalan ni jalan yang sukar dan satu uphill task, tapi if we don't start somewhere, we are not going anywhere. And of course again, pada mereka yang ingin ataupun ingin melakukan sesuatu, especially belia, saya sekali lagi ingin mempromosikan My Corps Alumni. My Corps Alumni ada program untuk melatih sukarelawan untuk dihantar ke luar negara. Setakat ini mereka telah pergi ke 15 negara dan 400 orang sukarelawan telah dilatih. Dan modulnya semua sukarelawan dilatih di sini dan dihantar 2 bulan untuk deployment. Dan sekali lagi saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada panelis kita, rakan-rakan yang bertahan sehingga sekarang 10.41. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you, Mr. Jismi. Please stay on the stage. Now I would like to call upon our moderator and panelists to receive the token of appreciation. Puan Nurul Izzah Anwar, social activist, former member of parliament.
Translation, yes. Translation.
Professor Datuk Dr. Rahmat bin Muhammad, Chairman, Asian International Arbitration Center, AIAC. Professor Dr. Muhammad Effendi Saleh, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Law, International Relations, University Sultan Zainal Abidin. Professor Datuk Dr. Gurdul Singh Nija, Advocates GS Nija. Madam Nohadila binti Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalil, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Law, University of Malaya. Okay, thank you everyone. I think please remain on the stage. We're going to have a group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone please gather in front.